Welcome to Lunch Assist. We're delighted for you to join us in learning more about civil rights. I'm Jen, and I'm a former child nutrition director, a registered dietitian, and a co-founder of Lunch Assist. Today, you will get a sneak peek at one of our favorite lessons from the training videos that are available through the Lunch Assist Pro membership. In this lesson, we will spend about 10 minutes discussing civil rights, and then at the end, you are invited to take a short quiz and review some of the downloadable resources on this topic, including a copy of these slides, some great sample policies and procedures, and information about racial justice. Completing this lesson and the quiz will count towards 15 minutes of professional development and meet the annual civil rights requirements for USDA child nutrition programs. The goal of this lesson is to learn and identify the general civil rights requirements in school nutrition programs and the reason why attention to civil rights is so important. We will also provide practical information to help ensure every child has equal access to our school meal programs. But before we learn more about the civil rights requirements in school nutrition programs, we must acknowledge our nation's history and continuous battle to grant equal rights to all citizens. Systemic racism and discrimination has been part of the fabric of our country since its inception. Black men, women, and children were legally enslaved in the United States until the mid-1860s, when the 14th Amendment was written to give people of all colors equal protection under the law. But while the Civil War officially abolished slavery, it didn't end discrimination or segregation, and we have continued to endure the devastating effects of racism ever since. People of many different races and ethnicities have faced discrimination in our country. In the 19th century, the Chinese Exclusion Act prohibited Asians from coming to the United States, and during World War II, Japanese citizens living on the West Coast were sent to internment camps. These historical events set the stage for violence against people of Asian descent that we continue to see in the 21st century. Political events in South America made emigration to the United States popular, but anti-Latino sentiment grew along with these waves of immigration, and anti-Latino prejudice has led to illegal deportations, school segregation, and even lynching, often forgotten events that echo the civil rights violations of African Americans in the Jim Crow era South. Segregation and discrimination of students of color in our public schools was legal until 1954, when Brown v. Board of Education set out to change this. Separate but equal is inherently unequal. This monumental court ruling helped ignite the civil rights movement. Finally, in 1964, the Civil Rights Act was passed, which ended segregation in public places and banned employment discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or national origin. It was, and still is, considered one of the crowning legislative achievements of the civil rights movement. An often forgotten, but no less historic aspect to the civil rights movement was the disability rights activism that led to the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act. It wasn't until 1990 that protections against discrimination afforded by the Civil Rights Act were expanded to include disability. The purpose of the law is to make sure that people with disabilities have the same rights and opportunities as everyone else, at work, at school, when using transportation, and when accessing all other places that are open to the public. In the 21st century, we have experienced massive social movements and large protests around the world in light of the continued systemic racism and discrimination in our society. While there have been many important milestones in the American civil rights journey, we are reminded that many people are still fighting to gain the same civil rights that other citizens are so privileged to have. For this reason, we feel it's important and relevant that we talk about equity and inclusion in our conversations about civil rights. As school nutrition professionals, it's our responsibility to ensure that all of the children and families we care for are treated with equality, respect, and access to our nutritious meals, and that they are welcomed with open arms, regardless of race, color, national origin, sex, which as of 2022 includes sexual orientation and gender identity, their age, or disability. We can't follow through on this promise if we are unconsciously biased against some program participants. The federal non-discrimination statement is proudly listed on our program materials to remind all people of our duty to honor and protect civil rights. Part of the way we ensure children and families have access to our healthy meals is through public notification. By doing this, we are making sure that we are informing the families in our schools that school meals are available and that we communicate any eligibility or application processes to our community so that all families understand that they may be eligible for free meals. But regardless of the way eligibility is determined, school nutrition programs must send a public media release every year. In some states, like Washington, the state agency sends this out on behalf of all of the school nutrition programs. But in other states, like California, each school or district must send out a public release each year. Be sure to check with your state agency to see how this works in your area. We must also collect racial and ethnic data on our student population. This is important for ensuring our programs are compliant with Title VI of the Civil Rights Act. Historically, visual observation and identification were allowable methods for collecting this data. But as of June 2021, this is no longer allowable for child nutrition programs. Why is that? Well, because a third party's observation of an individual's appearance is not a reliable means to capture how the participant self-identifies their own racial or ethnic identity. If you're interested in learning more, this is a topic we cover in more depth in our lesson on cultural competence. The preferred method of obtaining demographic data remains self-identification and self-reporting. This can be accomplished through data submitted by families on enrollment forms, meal applications, or alternative income forms. You can even collect this data from a school database. If you're not sure how your program is collecting racial and ethnic data, check with your nutrition director. Planning culturally relevant meals is just one reason why knowing the student demographics for your district is important. By knowing our community better, we can celebrate the diversity of our families and offer foods that are familiar to the children we serve. What cultural flavors are represented on your school menus? As you can see, our role is to ensure that our customers' rights are respected and our programs are accessible to all children. It's important to treat everyone equally, but how can we also provide an inclusive environment to all students? Think about ways you can help students have an easy and enjoyable experience in the cafeteria. Being inclusive also means providing food substitutions for our students with disabilities. In California, we use the form you see on the right side of your screen to document special meal accommodations. Typically, there is a person designated who can help cafeteria staff understand how to make the appropriate food substitutions, such as a school nurse or a registered dietitian. While some special diets are really straightforward, like a peanut allergy request at a nut-free school, other special dietary accommodations are a bit more complicated. When you get a request, always communicate this with the menu planner and any health professionals on your team so you can make sure the meals served to your children are safe for them to eat. There is a printable special diets procedure attached to this lesson. Take a look and see how it compares to your own process, and feel free to adapt it for use at your school. If you want to learn more about accommodating children with allergies, be sure to check out our lesson on special diets. As we've discussed, our programs serve many children and families from many different backgrounds. It's important to provide applications, menus, and other program information in different languages, and to make translations available. We have a responsibility to take reasonable steps to ensure that individuals who do not speak English as their primary language and those who may have a limited ability to read, speak, write, or understand English can still access our programs. If a significant proportion of the population we serve uses a primary language other than English, then we must make an effort to provide the information to them in the appropriate language. What are some of the languages spoken by children in your school community? So, what happens if a person feels that there has been a violation of civil rights at your school? Do you have access to a civil rights complaint procedure at your school site? This procedure is usually found in your binder or your digital file of program policies and procedures. The civil rights complaint procedures outline how the school will handle complaints related to discrimination. Procedures should be available to all staff at each school. If you don't know where to find this information, make a note and be sure to ask your supervisor about it. In the meantime, you can take a look at the sample civil rights complaint procedures available in the downloadable resources for this lesson. Your school or district appoints a civil rights coordinator who can help you address any potential civil rights complaints. Do you know who that person is in your school or district? If you don't, ask your nutrition director. To summarize, remember that as school nutrition professionals, it is our duty and responsibility to ensure that all of the children and families we care for are treated with equality, respect, and access to our nutritious meals. That is why we review this information each year through the civil rights training and why we post our Justice for All poster wherever meals are served. If a person feels that there has been a violation of their civil rights at our schools, then we must handle complaints according to the civil rights procedure. Civil rights violations can result in an investigation by the state agency or a finding during your next USDA administrative review. If you are preparing for an administrative review, be sure to check out the lessons that we have available as part of the Lunch Assist Administrative Review Bootcamp. Following the corresponding policies and procedures ensure that our customers' rights are respected and our programs are equitable for all children. To end, if there is one thing I'd like you to remember from today, it's that all children should have access to our nutritious meals, no matter who they are, where they live, what languages they speak, what they look like, if they have a disability, if their families are rich or poor, if they are a boy or a girl, or if they are gender nonconforming. We proudly welcome all children to our meal programs, regardless of what boxes they do or do not fit into. This brings us to the end of our lesson on civil rights. Thank you for your time and attention to this very important topic. As a reminder, there are a few downloadable resources for you to review on this topic, including an agenda, a sign-in sheet, a copy of these slides, and a short printable quiz. Now is a good time to review those and print them for your records. Once you complete the quiz, feel free to record 15 minutes of professional development to meet the annual civil rights training requirements and count towards professional standards tracking for this year. And, of course, if you enjoyed this training, then we invite you to join Lunch Assist Pro, the newest community in school nutrition. You can continue to learn with us all year long through our fun and informative training videos, which provide you with all of your required professional development. To join, simply follow the link below this video. Thank you again for learning with us today, and thank you for everything you are doing to feed our nation's children. We hope to see you again during a future lesson with Lunch Assist.